You've probably heard that tracking your macros is key to fat loss, building muscle, and getting leaner. But what actually are macros? And do you really need to weigh out every single bite of food to get results? In this video, I'm going to break down macros in a super simple, easy way and show you how to calculate yours without needing a nutritional degree. So first, what are macros? Macros is short for macronutrients, and these are three key nutrients that we need for energy. Protein. Protein builds and repairs muscle as well as supports the immune system. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy. It's our preferred source of energy. Fats. Fats are essential for brain function, hormones, and the absorption of vitamins. Each one of these macros, protein, carbs, and fats, have a different calorie value. Protein, for every gram of protein, there's 4 calories. Carbohydrates, for every gram of carbohydrates, there's 4 calories. Fats are the most caloric dense because every single gram of fat has a total of 9 calories. And we could also include alcohol. Alcohol isn't technically a macro, but is sometimes included when we're calculating calories. For every milliliter of ethanol, so the percentage of alcohol, would be equal to 7 calories. So why does all of this even matter? Because not all calories are created equal. Yes, a calorie is a unit measure of energy, but nutrients value is important. Sure, 2,000 calories of junk food and 2,000 calories of nutritionally dense meals are technically the same energy, but the macro balance will affect how your body looks, performs, and feels. If you want to lose fat and build muscle, you'll need good enough, efficient amounts of protein. Training hard with a high level of intensity, you will need a good level of carbohydrates. Reducing or completely cutting out your fats can greatly negatively affect your hormones. Macros lets you personalize your diet based on your goals, way more effectively than just counting calories. So how do we calculate macros? First, we have to calculate your calorie needs. You can do this by using a TDEE, Total Daily Energy Expenditure Calculator. Now, I have one of these on my website. If you go to www.rediscipline.com/calculator, you can use it completely for free. You will input a few measurements being your gender, your age, your weight, your height, and your physical activity level. When selecting your physical activity level, it's important to make sure you select the right number based on your active planned exercise. What I mean by this is, if you are performing exercise for 45 minutes or longer, this would be included in your activity level. So for example, if you go to the gym 3 times a week for at least 45 minutes, this means you train 3 times per week. However, if you walk the dog every single day, and let's say that's a 20-minute walk every single day, that does not count for 5 days of exercise. Do not include that walking into your physical activity level calculations. Base it purely if you do a level of intense to moderate exercise for at least 45 minutes. If you're not sure how to calculate this, or you're not sure if you've calculated it correctly for yourself, drop me a message or comment below and I will do the calculation for you. Now that you've calculated and worked out your TDEE, Total Daily Energy Expenditure, if you're looking to lose weight, you're going to want to subtract a deficit from this. A deficit basically means we eat below our maintenance calories. So currently you've calculated your TDEE. This is your total daily energy expenditure, otherwise known as your maintenance calories. So for you to lose weight, you must eat on average below this number. So if we're going to keep it super simple, if you want to lose on average half a pound per week, then you need a deficit of 250. So you would minus 250 from your TDEE. If you would want to lose 1 pound per week, you would be in a 500 calorie deficit. So reduce this by 500. If you're super active or you have quite a lot more weight to lose, you could, for example, push the boundaries and go for a 750 calorie deficit. Anything more than that's likely going to be unrealistic. Now, if your goal is specifically for muscle building or you're looking at performance, then it'd be beneficial to stay at maintenance unless you want to really optimize muscle growth, and then you're going to want to be in a slight surplus. So to stay at maintenance, you would stay at your TDEE. To be in a slight surplus to optimize muscle growth, add 200 to your TDEE. Once we've done this, we then have a calculation of our calories. To calculate our macros, we might want to look at the demands and the needs of our goals. So if you want to optimize muscle repair, muscle growth, or to make sure that you don't lose any muscle while you're losing weight, it might be a good rule of thumb to have 35% of your macros coming from protein. So how to calculate this is we would take your total calorie target that you've just calculated and then times this by 0.35. This will give you your allocated amount of calories purely from protein. We could then look at having 25% coming from fats, 40% coming from carbohydrates. To give you an example of what this looks like, your deficit for you to lose weight was, say, 1,600 calories, and we were going to stick to that 40% carbohydrates, 35% protein, and 25% fats. In a calculator, we would then times this by those percentage numbers. So for carbohydrates, 1,600 times 0.4 being 40% equals 640 calories. Protein at 35%, we do 1,600 times 0.35, which equals 560 calories. And the last one being fats at 25%, 1,600 times 0.25 would equal 400 calories. So now we have the total amount of calories, macros, that we would need for our calorie target. 640 calories carbohydrates, 560 calories protein, 400 calories fats. Now to calculate the exact amount of grammage that we need, we divide these by the individual calorie metrics that we spoke about earlier on. So to convert calories into grams, we'll start with the carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates was 640 calories from carbohydrates divided by 4, as there's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, gives us 160 grams. So that equals 160 grams of carbohydrates. The protein was 560 calories, being 35%. 560 divided by 4, as there's 4 calories per gram of protein, equals 140 grams. So protein is 140 grams. And lastly, fats. The calories of fats was 400. 400 divided by 9, as there's 9 calories per gram of fats, equals 44.4. Shall we just round it up to 44 grams? So fats is equal to 44 grams. So our final macro target, carbohydrates 160, protein 140, and fats is 44. This is what we would class as our macros. So if someone said that their calorie target is 1,600 and they've got a macro split of 40, 35, 25, this would give them 160 grams of carbohydrates, 140 grams of protein, and 44 grams of fats. So we can calculate this specifically for your goal based on your total daily energy expenditure, the deficit, maintenance, or surplus you put yourself in, and then the specific macro split that you've chosen. This example was a 40, 35, 25% split. How do you actually track your macros without losing your mind or getting overwhelmed? The simplest way is using some sort of food tracker. Many people are familiar with MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal has many flaws, one of which is encouraging you to eat back your calories, which completely defeats the whole objective of tracking your macros. The best app, which I'm going to be biased around, is my own app, the Rediscipline app, as this gives you a global database, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can simply scan your barcode on any food item and instantly add it into the app. And when it comes to tracking, it's best to keep it simple. You don't have to be perfect. What gets tracked gets measured. The key macro that I would prioritize is protein. Aim to stay within your calorie target and hit your protein. Remember, tracking is a tool, not a lifestyle. It helps you create a lot of self-awareness, understanding around food, the nutritional value that's actually within food, but it's not a mandatory thing that you have to do long term. But it's a great tool that can be used to really optimize your results, especially if you're struggling with your nutrition or losing weight at this moment in time. Myself, I'm very familiar with all nutritional values of food. So when it comes to myself losing weight, for example, for a powerlifting competition, I don't actually have to track what I'm eating because I have very good awareness and understanding of what the nutritional value is in food because I've been doing this for so long. So don't get too hung up on being 100% perfect, but it is important each day to track to get a good measure of your progress and where you can make better alternatives or changes. Within my app, I often check in with my members to check what they are eating and offer suggestions or solutions on what sort of alternatives they can choose to have to help them stay within their calorie target or to help them increase the amount of protein they're having. So now you know what macros are and how to calculate them. You are already ahead of 90% of people trying to improve their nutrition. If this helped you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more no BS approach to nutritional education, just like this one. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll get back to each and every single one of you. If you want to try out my app completely for free, I'll have the link to the website below at www.rediscipline.com. With that, have an absolute epic day.